He who loves strongly is punished severely. These words by Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky open dark doors to the meanings and complexities of existence, where love, in its strongest form, appears as a deep force that pulls a person into an abyss of suffering and punishment. In this context, love is not just a fleeting action, but a consuming force that tears the self apart and leaves it submerged in a sea of pain. It grants a false sense of strength while in reality, sinking one deeper into weakness. Deep love, then, is the trap we set for ourselves, surrounded by existential paradoxes. From an existential perspective, strong love is a key means for an individual to assert their existence in an indifferent universe. The lover seeks meaning in life through attachment to another, as if this connection gives their life continuity and identity. Love, in this sense, is not just an emotional experience, but a deep philosophical process, a human attempt to escape the solitude of nothingness, as existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre describe in Being and Nothingness. Sartre argues that an individual is always caught between the existence of the self and the existence for the other, where the attempt to merge with another becomes a way to escape the existential void. Dostoevsky, in his novels The Brothers Karamazov and Demons, portrays strong love as a double-edged sword, one that both destroys and falsely plants hope in the heart. His characters do not find happiness or inner peace in love. Instead, their love intensifies the conflict between the self and the world. In The Brothers Karamazov, Ivan Karamazov struggles with faith in a world full of suffering, illustrating how emotional attachment can be a form of punishment, forcing one to confront a harsh reality that denies any higher meaning. This perspective aligns with Immanuel Kant's philosophy in Critique of Practical Reason, where he argues that love should align with moral obligations. Love driven purely by emotion, without rational consideration, leads to inner anxiety. Thus, intense love, in its pursuit of self-fulfillment, does not necessarily bring inner peace, as it often disregards ethical limits and confronts the lover with a conflict between human desires and moral duties. Psychologically, Dostoevsky's quote reflects the constant internal battle between the desire to immerse in love and the fear of emotional breakdown. This battle reveals the depth of human psychology, caught between the need for connection and the anxiety that comes with it. Excessive attachment does not only provide a sense of closeness, but also begins to dismantle the self, leaving one in extreme vulnerability, fearing loss and heartbreak. John Bowlby's attachment theory supports this idea, stating that individuals form emotional bonds to feel secure. However, excessive attachment can lead to anxiety and psychological distress. When a person depends too much on their partner or anyone else, love shifts from a source of security to a primary source of worry, as the lover lives in constant fear of separation. This emotional dependence creates continuous suffering, where love turns into punishment rather than comfort. In literature, this emotional struggle is embodied in characters like Don Juan and Hamlet. Don Juan seeks love as a way to assert his existence, but his endless pursuit leads to frustration and emptiness. Hamlet, torn between love and duty, reflects the deep conflict of self-sacrifice for another, showing how excessive attachment results in inevitable suffering. From a moral perspective, strong love forces the lover into painful dilemmas between good and harm, selflessness and selfishness. Intense love becomes an internal battle between the desire to give everything and the need to protect oneself from collapse. This raises a philosophical question. Can a person love sincerely without losing themselves? Or does true love demand an unrequested sacrifice? In this tension between the self and the other, love becomes not just a pure emotion, but an ethical test, pushing one to the limits of sacrifice. Friedrich Nietzsche, in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, sees love not as a liberating force, but as a burden that weakens the will and prolongs human suffering. To him, deep love often leads to surrendering personal will and freedom, making the lover a prisoner of the beloved. Similarly, Michel Foucault, in The History of Sexuality, argues that love, in its extreme form, becomes a tool of social power, turning emotional attachment into a mechanism of control where societal expectations dictate one's emotional sacrifices. This struggle is evident in literature, such as Antigone by Sophocles, where love is tested against ethical dilemmas of sacrifice for family versus personal well-being. The tragedy of love is also seen in the Aeneid, where Dido's love for Aeneas leads to destruction when she is forced to choose between love and destiny. Even in Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus's love for his wife Penelope is not just an emotional bond, but a rebellion against fate. Yet it demands endless sacrifices. Ultimately, deep love, while promising meaning, often becomes a source of suffering. It is a test of selfhood, morality, and identity, where one realizes that love is not merely about connection, but also about enduring its consequences.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.